Good evening, short story writers. Okay, what we're going to start is basically some how to write stuff. All the writing advice to, there's a lot of expressions: punch up your prose, tighten your prose, and basically make it more readable, make it flow. So I'm going to focus on one tip each video, so the videos should be quite short, and we'll start with the usual ones. But I'll explain why they're important. And the first usual one is no adverbs and very few adjectives. Now, I've seen the no adverbs advice modified to no adverbs ending in ly, because some adverbs are sometimes necessary, but if you find you have any adverbs at all, it usually is a sign that you need a stronger verb, because adverbs modify verbs, and adjectives sometimes, like completely normal, thoroughly strange. If you can't find another way of expressing what you want to say, you've got two ways around it. The first is to give it as a sentence for someone to say, for a character to say, because characters, humans, or well, is a substitute for a human. In Watership Down, it'd be a rabbit. Obviously, they're thinking or speaking as humans do. So, an expression like thoroughly strange would be an acceptable thing for someone to say. But in your prose, you want it to flow fast, and adverbs and adjectives slow things down. Now, adjectives, the best place to put your adjectives, if you got to it in the first sentence, and think of journalism. So you will see adjectives to describe a person when you're introducing them. So let's talk about J.K. Rowling or Stephen King. J.K. Rowling, so blonde, single mother of, I presume, one at the time, divorcee, which is a noun being used as an adjective, aspiring writer J.K. Rowling used to go to school with her son, drop him off, and then spend the day at a coffee shop writing the Harry Potter series. So you've given a big, condensed, journalistic style description of her in the first sentence. Those things don't need to be repeated ever again. And I'm not sure why that would be a work of fiction, but you get the idea. You can do this in your fiction books. You introduce your character, especially in flash fiction, very short fiction of 1,000 words or less. Something along, you give details of their physical appearance, their occupation, and perhaps their marital or other life status. In the case of Stephen King, since he's well known, it would be, how old is he? He's in his 70s now, isn't he? So septuagenarian, bespectacled, lion-maned, craggy-faced author Stephen, survivor of near-fatal van collision, Stephen King, sat down one day and thought to himself, blah, 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 whatever idea came into his head for his latest work. So you get the idea. You can cram all that information. It's acceptable in the first sentence, but if you carry on doing it, it's almost as if somebody is trying to force feed you a massive sandwich without giving you the chance to bite it up, bite it and make it acceptable. And again, the other thing is that some adjectives, there is a problem with adjectives. Some adjectives are necessary. Red car versus green car, red being the adjective. You need that to distinguish the vehicles, blonde hair, brunette hair, etc., etc., etc. But with adjectives and adverbs, you need to make sure that they are clinical, and that means that you are not using something which could be interpreted as putting in the author's opinion, unless you are writing like Dickens did, essentially third person but as an author, because there's a sentence in A Christmas Carol where he says something about the ghost of Christmas present, I think it is, and it's something as close to Scrooge as I am to you at your elbow. And first time I read that, I thought, what is going on here? And then I remembered that Dickens used to write these things with an intention of standing in front of a theatre of people and reading them out. So it was right and proper for him. And also it begins, Marley had been dead these 7 years. That must be understood from the beginning, or there will be nothing magical and mystical, whatever, in the story that I am, I think he says I am about to relate to. He might say that you are about to read. Anyway, I am about to relate to. It's in keeping with that other comment later on. So he's allowed to give adjectives which reflect his opinion. But if you're writing certain types of third person story, you can't, because that would be author intrusion. So red is acceptable, but something like unconscionable, outrageous, those adjectives are not allowed because they smack of opinion. They are subjective rather than objective. Okay, so avoid adjectives, avoid adverbs, and if you find this useful, hit the like button and all that other stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow with some more How Not to Write stuff.